The second developer's diary for Assassin's Creed Mirage was released yesterday, and it was fully focused on Basim, but it also showed a lot of new gameplay footage and information, and today we're going to discuss all the news coming out of it, including some new information about Basim's story within the game, a lot of information about character progression with a dedicated look at the skill tree, a first look at the inventory page of the game with a focus on outfit dyeing, and finally some more footage and information about combat in the game. So much to discuss as usual, so let's dive right in and have a look at all the Assassin's Creed Mirage news. So the dev diary starts with narrative director Sarah Beaulieu introducing Basim, and immediately we see a new piece of off-screen parkour footage, for which sadly this time we aren't able to read the additional details of the build, but we'll be able to do that later. Within the early phases of the dev diary, creative director Stéphane Boudon mentions that the Mirage team made the connection between Basim, his origins in the Middle East, and the Abbasid Caliphate, which led them to set the game in Baghdad, for which we can see more concepts during the video, and this also allowed them to show some of the events that defined him as a person and that led to the character we saw in Valhalla. So the game will be playable without previous knowledge about Valhalla or any other game of the franchise, but the creative director did mention that there are going to still be many secrets, connections, and Easter eggs to Valhalla itself and the other games of the franchise for hardcore fans that might be interested in them. After that, narrative director Sarah Beaulieu finally cleared out the doubt about when the game is going to take place. Mirage will be set in A61 AD, 12 years before the events of Valhalla and not 20 as it was stated during the Assassin's Creed showcase last year, which also might invalidate the Basim profile trailer that was released last year at Paris Games Week as well. In Beaulieu's words, the game will start with young Basim being a street thief, and more specifically, the game will start in the city of Anbar, not Baghdad, and we had already found out and mentioned Anbar in our previous videos, but Basim won't be alone in Anbar, as already from the start of the game we are going to meet Nihal, who is going to be his friend and partner in crime, at least in the early stages of the game. Already at this point of the story, and as far as he can remember, Basim has always been affected by his nightmarish visions of the genie that he hasn't been able to understand. Those visions will lead him to question himself and his path, and thus to believe that he is destined to join the Hidden Ones, much to Nihal's frustration already at the start of the game, but also as we saw in the recent story trailer, where she questions him about the irony of fighting for freedom while having to obey everything that the Hidden Ones and his mentor Roshan tell him to do. In a small cutscene we even see young street thief Basim waking up from one of his nightmares with Nihal next to him, trying to calm him down, and I wonder how much of his dreams he actually shared with her and her potential reactions to such information. Eventually, as we know, Basim will end up at the fortress of Alamut, for which we can see a new concept, and where he will train and then will be inducted in the Hidden Ones Brotherhood. After that, as mentioned by Stéphane Boudon, his main mission will be striking down the members of the Order of the Ancients in Baghdad. Narrative director Sarah Beaulieu added that as Basim pursues his new mission for the Hidden Ones, he'll start asking questions once again about quote-unquote himself, his past, and the meaning of freedom, something that he would be spurred on by his friends and allies like Nihal herself and Ali ibn Muhammad. After this, the dev diary shifts gears and moves on to discuss how Basim's character and his looks were designed, taking into account his looks from his later life as portrayed in Valhalla. Thus, the video shows several concepts of Street Thief Basim, Initiate Basim, and Master Assassin Basim, including different iterations for the same types of outfit, along with the turnaround of the three main models and renders of the character. Character concept artist Annika Mercier also did mention that the red sash that we saw strapped around Basim's right arm in Valhalla is now retroactively introduced as a heritage from his past life in Baghdad, where the sash is actually a symbol of the rebellion against the Caliphate. The dev diary also dives deep into the progression aspects of the game. Creative director Stéphane Boudon mentions that the progression systems will be directly tied to Basim's path within the Hidden Ones, from apprentice to mentor, and I think this might be a mistake or a spoiler? I'm not sure, as Basim was never presented as mentor even in Valhalla. Anyway, the game will not have any XP based progression, and instead the progression will be story driven. As the player continues the story, completes the missions and performs the main assassinations, they will increase their rank within the Brotherhood, which in turn will allow them to obtain new side missions in the Hidden Ones bureaus, new tools amidst the 5 available in the game, and also new outfits. While all of this is being discussed, the dev diary also provides a first look at the skill tree, which as we already know is divided in 3 branches: Phantom, Trickster, and Predator. Phantom seems to be more action oriented with abilities like Breakfall that allow to reduce the amount of damage taken from a dangerous height, Airstrike which slows down time while aiming with throwing knives in mid-air, and Kickback which allows us to kick an enemy towards any direction after parrying a hit. All of these are not really new abilities, they've been part of the RPG Assassin's Creed games for years now, but at least they have their own flavor connected to Mirage. The Trickster branch seems more oriented to tools like the throwing knives, some medicine upgrades, and potentially some upgrades to the pickpocket ability, while the Predator tree seems more oriented towards our Eagle and Kidu, possibly Eagle Vision, and more. As you can see, there are much fewer abilities compared to the recent games, and each of them requires a number of skill points to be unlocked. It has already been mentioned by the devs that players won't be able to unlock all the abilities within the game at the same time, but we can already see that abilities can be reset to re-obtain the skill points and unlock different abilities, and there seems to be also another option within the skill tree when no abilities are selected, which I'd imagine could be a prompt to reset them all and start unlocking them anew. Finally, from this picture we can actually see that the build that this skill tree screen was taken from is from April the 21st of 2023, so once again the game might have evolved and changed from what we're seeing right now. Art director Jean-Luc Salah confirmed that there are going to be multiple outfits in Mirage, some of which can be used with the outfit dyeing feature, which as we already know is making a comeback. More specifically, the dev diary allowed us to have a look at the menu for the outfit dyeing feature, which shows that there are at least 9 possible color sets for the standard Initiate of Alamut outfit, and we also saw one of them, the Desert Sands dye, which seems to color the outfit in blue, sand yellow, and gray. But we also can see the mention of another outfit in the game called the Zanj Uprising outfit, which seems to have at least 3 possible coloring possibilities, which also seem different from the ones available for the Initiate of Alamut outfit. For the blink of an eye, the dev diary also showed for the first time a full look at the inventory page, which the outfit dye feature is just a part of. So the main inventory page is pretty clean and simple and is made up of 14 icons. The 6 main ones at the center are pretty much focused on Basim's equipment. So we have the outfit selector. Remember, Mirage will not have item sets that we can mix and match, but a single selector that involves the entire outfit. Then we have the outfit dye selector, the sword selector, meaning that the game will include different swords, and the same goes for the dagger selector. Then we have the talisman selector, and we had already found the mention of talismans in the description of items included in the deluxe edition of the game, and I'd imagine these are items that might apply buffs, effects, or modifiers to our character. And finally, we have this costume selector, which got a few fans to scratch their heads as there is already an icon for the selection of the outfit, so I wonder if it's as in the classic games of the franchise where you could keep an armor with its stats and perks but applying the visuals of what were then called outfits like some capes or the legacy outfits in a system that is very similar to the transmog ones from the recent games. Then, on the left, we have Basim's bag, which I reckon will be similar to Eivor's bag, with all the various quest items and additional items that can be found in the game. Then we can see 3 main resources on the lower left, looking like cloth, metal, and I'm not sure what that material is, and these resources will be needed to upgrade the assassin's tools in game. Then on the top right we can see an indicator of our current rank within the Brotherhood. In this case Basim is still an apprentice, and in the lower right we have the amount of tokens in our possession, where tokens are these items that we can use to bribe small groups of people into walking in specific directions so we can crowd blend within them. As you can see, there are 3 types of tokens, and I'd imagine each represents a specific type of faction that we can bribe for our social stealth interactions. But that's not all, because this screen also shows us all the main pages of the pause menu of Mirage. Starting from the left, we now know we will have a dedicated page for the tools, the inventory page we have just seen, a word page which is basically going to be the game's map, the investigation page, which is likely the page where we are going to track all the clues and info about all the missions we have decided to undertake, including the main assassinations and the various side missions. Then we have the skill page we have already discussed, and the codex page, which is going to contain 3 sub-pages, a tutorial page, a lore database page, and what was recently announced as the History of Baghdad database, which is going to be a text-based version of the Discovery Tour in Mirage, very much akin to the historical databases of the original games, and which will comprise of 66 entries that are added as we discover landmarks within the game, and will also grant players with a reward once completed. The dev diary then moves on to some more info about combat presented by game designer Alexandre Rosset. The footage showed how players can parry and very fluidly instantly kill enemies, with also a text box showing that parrying not only breaks the opponent's guard but also restores some stamina, and we can also see a kind of targeting system that allows Basim to turn towards the specific enemy we have decided to attack or parry from. From this frame, we can also see a smaller version of the Assassin's Focus light blue gauge, with Assassin Focus being the ability that allows us to kill multiple guards in succession, and we can see it can be triggered by pushing the R button, but also we can notice how this gauge, and thus the ability, is not available during the combat phases and becomes available only after the last guard is killed, which means that the Assassin's Focus ability will only be available when we are in an incognito status, even though, as mentioned by senior game designer Marco Maresca, if we don't plan its execution perfectly, we might be spotted after the final kill of the ability, so we'll have to plan the use of the ability carefully. More combat footage can be seen at a later stage in the dev diary, where we can see different types of enemies, including this brute one, who seems to have a tiny red skull over his shield icon, possibly meaning he's overpowered compared to us, and supposedly this is one of the armored enemies that were mentioned in the first dev diary, where it was mentioned that Basim needs to walk past them and attack them from behind in order to deal some damage to them, and indeed we can see that attacking him from the front side actually repels Basim. We then see some more raw combat animations in what seems to be a training session between Basim and Roshan before Annika Mercier shows us more concepts of the swords from the game. We can see some that are similar to the ones used by Basim and Roshan, maybe we'll get to use all of them, and we can see that most of them seem to have been designed to show they are made with the historically accurate Damascus steel material and technique, which intentionally or not, was actually the same type of material suggested to be used for the hidden blades by Altair in Arabic in his codex from Assassin's Creed 2. Funnily enough, a concept for another sword used specifically by the Hidden Ones actually has the Assassin's Creed Rift logo, which devs at this point aren't even trying to hide anymore. And at this point, the dev diary is practically over, if not for the teaser for the third and final dev diary for the game, titled Recreating a Lost City, which is going to be focused on Baghdad, and Baghdad, along with Anbar and another famous but mysterious location, is but one of the many other news that we have discussed recently and that you can check out in the video that you can see on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.